I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good Evans, he's done it again. Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us. We have a draw to talk about with the first point of the season against Bristol Rovers. There's quite a lot to talk about. From a 0-0 draw, there's quite a lot to talk about. And you don't often say that. I can think of several 0-0 draws we've had to scrape an hour out of in the past. I don't think this is going to be one of those episodes. I could be wrong. I have been wrong before, and hopefully I'll be wrong again in the future. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Mick, how are you?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. All very good indeed. I've been out for a long walk today, and I'm going to give you all and everybody in the comments 5 minutes to guess what I saw on my walk today, and it was an animal. See if anybody can get it.
Was it Steve Evans?
That's your guess, gone, Danny.
Danny's with us, as you can tell by Danny's voice. How are you doing, Danny?
I'm doing all right. I've just got in from work and I'm ready for a therapy session, to be fair, because I've had far too many happy Doncaster Rovers fans in the pub today because they've actually won a game.
Well, if you want to work in a Sheffield pub, mate, that's what you want to do. Anyway, I'll talk about that.
Although I did get to see Wednesday get battered 4-0 today, so that was fun.
That's positive. Joy, how are you?
Yeah, all good here down south. Nice weather.
Yes, excellent. Glad we can all be with us on here and in the comments as well. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, post. Thank you all for listening as well. Martin Holland's with us, as the Millers 66, Sarah Ogden, Michael Carnell. We saw Michael yesterday. Nice to see you. Kelly Bobs, Chris Sanderson, Richard saying, evening all, he enjoyed his Sunday lunch. Yeah.
That's good.
The Baldy Wolf is with us, as is Trevor Kirk, Steve Grundy, John Inchcliffe, Dave Carroll, Vernon Jones, Chris Page, Michael Carnell doing mixed job by saying, I've got to say it, but the referee was awful. He will get a mention. Harry's with us and says, feel like this could be a very split podcast. What do you mean, Harry? What do you mean? We're going to start there. I put on Twitter again, if anybody wants to give us a question to start with, and this comes from Harry Ashfield on Twitter. He says, bearing in mind we've only played 2 league games and a cup game, do you think you are overreacting with the criticism? I, for one, don't think it is easy to gel a squad, including newbies, in about 6 weeks. It's rare for friendlies to be at full pelt. This refers to our our instant reaction, which we often get wrong, to be honest with you. I think in instant reaction we often misjudge things. But Joy, I'll come to you on this if that's all right, because obviously you weren't on the instant reaction, so we don't know what you thought. What did you think of that? Are we being overcritical, I suppose? Were we too far? Did we go too far in the instant reaction last night?
No, I'm with you guys. I thought exactly the same. In fact, I said to you guys before we came on air that I thought you'd hit the spot. I don't think we're overreacting or being too negative at all. We're a professional football club. We've just been relegated after one of our most dreadful seasons. Steve has come in with fanfares ablazing, and we expected a little bit much. We've got a full team, I agree that, but there should be some evidence of them playing as a team. They should be able to pass to one another. They should be able to work out what's happening on the pitch. Let's be brutally honest, Bristol Rovers weren't exactly a very attacking team, but I would suggest that they had the best opportunity and clear-cut opportunity to score a goal when they lofted it over the bar, because, again, our defence was wide open. We're not playing as a team. Yeah, you can argue that we've got a lot of new people in there, but what are we doing in training? You know, what is the message that is going out to these guys? What is the plan? It just seems a little bit all over the place to me. I can't see any structure. Yes, I'm hoping we are going to improve, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate a lot of people will think that. But at this moment in time, yes, it was an improvement from Exeter. Our XG must be off the scale. but the opportunities that we're having to score are not made by good football. They're not made by passing, flowing moves. There's a lot of hoofball going on. I thought we'd moved on from that, to be brutally honest. It feels like we've gone back to times of yore, that we've gone retrograde, to be brutally honest. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I understand. I've seen a lot of people on social media agreeing with that, a lot disagreeing with that. Before we go further, Mick, we need to find out what that animal was. I'm probably just not going straight back to it.
Well, I mean, nobody's guessed it, and I didn't think anybody would.
You've got to assume a farm animal.
Well, you would assume so, wouldn't you? But it's not.
Okay.
I've got a photograph. I don't know if this will work. It's great for audio listeners. It was a zebra.
I've seen a horse in a coat like that.
Yeah. So there you go. I've seen a zebra today.
Fair enough. That's interesting.
A little bit of light-heartedness, shall we say? Shall we have, just to sort of calm things down a little bit.
Okay.
I wish we could check Jarcook as the way we play.
Yeah. Mike the Miller says the problem is that there are too many extremes. There's people over the top hype with Evans coming back and all the signings. There's also over the top despair at a sluggish start. The truth lies somewhere in between. Mike the Miller with the general level-headedness that we come to expect and like from Mike. Chris Page says, got to look better than last season at least, and he says, not happening yet. Phil says, if this had been Warne's tenure, I think the reaction would have been completely different. I get what he's saying there, Mick, but at the same time, the same goes for Paul Warne. When it was bad under Paul Warne, it looked horrible, and it looked long ball, it looked direct. Steve Evans has the same problems that Paul Warne has. When it's bad, it looks so ugly. And yes, it was so much better. It's difficult. It was better yesterday. You can't question that. I'm not questioning anybody that says that yesterday wasn't better. It absolutely was. But I still didn't enjoy it. And I used to enjoy it under Steve Evans' first time. And the football was exciting. It was fun. It was energetic. We're not there yet. And I know it's only 2 games, but we're not at the level I expect from a Steve Evans team.
No. And I mean, there's a few points there. First one I'll address is the post-match yesterday. I think that was one of the most difficult post-match podcast, whatever you want to call it, post-match show that I've had to do, because I really didn't know how I felt about what I'd seen. Everybody knows my view on the situation with the manager, and I felt that at one part of me felt that he'd just not done a very good job, and we were all over the place. And the other part of me was thinking, well, hang on a minute, it's 2 games in, which everybody's pointing out, quite rightly so, that it is only 2 league games, and I fully accept that. And I didn't want to go over the top with it, and I still don't want to go over the top with it. But I have to agree with Joy in the sense that there's just no direction. There appears to be no direction, but we have to caveat that with the fact that, like we said, it's just 2 games, and come October time, maybe we'll have found a way of playing football. I don't know, that suits the squad that he's got. We'll have to see. As far as, I mean, Paul Warne got loads and loads of criticism. Loads of criticism. Not from us. I'll be fair. I'll be honest. We were sort of the happy clappers, weren't we? And the happy clapper moniker is now switched sides. It appears. And we're on the opposite side to that at the moment. I certainly am anyway. But I think he did receive a lot of criticism, and you're absolutely right. Some of the football that we played initially under Warney was woeful. It was awful. But dare I say this? I don't know. He possibly learned a lot of his coaching style having worked under Steve Evans for a long time. And until he became a manager in his own right and started implementing his own sort of philosophy and ideas, things stayed that way. But even when he did, he got lots and lots of criticism. So the manager cannot be we've said this many, many times, he can't be immune from criticism. Although I was accused, I think I've been accused a few times of saying that Warney was, but it wasn't. And we criticised him, maybe not to the extent that we are with the current manager, but we did.
We criticised Taylor as much as we're criticising Evans.
Yeah, we did. We did because the way that we played was just woeful, and then also Matt Taylor's performance off the field at times was very, very poor. You know, there were a couple of car crash interviews that he did with Radio Sheffield. So yeah, our job, as everybody is the same as everyone's in the comments, is just to give your point of view, you know, and say what you see. And what we see at the moment is 2 games in, only 2 games in, that a team that's lacking any sort of identifiable way of playing football. So I get the question that was posed, and I agree that, you know, we need to be a little bit more level-headed. And that's difficult for me. That's really difficult for me because I've got very strong views on it, as people probably might have noticed. I'm not saying I'm right, you know. And I hope beyond hope that come May next year, I am eating humble pie and masses of it. I genuinely, nothing would make me happier than come May next year to be able to sit here and say, God, I got that wrong. I was way off. But in the meantime, you know, we've got to say what we see, I suppose.
Yeah, we're not going to dwell on us kind of thing, but one thing what the show has kind of been based on is to be honest to each other about as opinions. To make sure we try not to go too far and be personal and insulting, but at the same time give our opinions on what we see on the pitch. We're certainly not trying to be second tier and clickbaity and saying things for the sake of saying them. And to be fair, we and Mick and Danny particularly have talked about this a lot over the last few weeks, that we're kind of worried about what we're saying and how it's coming across. And to be fair, nobody's kind of accused us of being clickbaity, which I'm quite happy with. I'm glad that what we're saying is coming across in, I suppose, in a positive way. But yeah, maybe we're all too similar. Maybe that's the problem. We're all seeing the same thing in the same way. Yeah. Richard says about expectations. He thinks the majority of fans expected 6 points from 2 games and 6 goals. John Morell, direct play is fine when you're winning. And that's always the way in football. When it doesn't, fans get frustrated quickly. There was a lot of frustrated sounds at some of the play yesterday. Sean Green, I never look at the table until 10 games. I'd be more worried if we weren't getting chances to score. That is a good point from Sean. We're creating chances by hook or by crook. We are doing that. Harry says he thought we looked fantastic on the left-hand side. However, that right-hand side needs work, as does the middle. We need to start using the middle is what I would add to that. Danny, obviously, you were working yesterday at the game. Obviously, you watched the interaction, you've watched the highlights and the extended highlights and whatever else. 1.0 points. 1 point from 2 games. What we thought was a pretty kind opening couple of fixtures, but they are only a couple of fixtures. That's it. You know what I mean? Go on.
Yeah, I mean, Evans has come out and said that he got the team selection wrong for Exeter, which I think is very good of him to come out and say that. You know, he's took responsibility for it. He's kind of took responsibility for the disciplinary thing, even though he said, well, the referee was awful anyway, but that's my opinion. But we'll leave that conversation there because I don't want to get into the moaning arc of things. But I suppose with me working both league games and sort of having a bit of an outside perspective where I haven't really watched much of the game, I sort of just have to take it at face value, which, you know, is unfortunately very on the fence. Like, yeah, it's disappointing that we've not picked up a win yet, but at the same time, you know, we've had a big turnover of players, and we are creating chances at goal. We've created more chances at goal, I think, in these 2 league games than we did in 15 last season, rather. So I hope it's not a case of if you throw enough at the wall, something will stick. and we start scoring. But we haven't scored in the league yet. We only scored 2 against League 2 opposition, and that Crew team, in my opinion anyway, aren't going to be up there in League 2 like they were last season.
We got battered.
Yeah, exactly. And I think against Bristol Rovers, we had so many attempts at goal that we hoped something would stick, but it didn't. Put that down to Josh Griffiths having an amazing game, so a few people have told me, or just not clicking yet. But at the same time, on the opposite side of the fence, Evans bigged us up so much in pre-season of how it's going to change, how it's going to get better, and these players that we signed are fantastic and they're training really well, apart from Sam Nombe. And he's just sort of bigged it up and bigged it up and bigged it up. And to be sat here after 2 league games without a goal and without a win and a singular point from a 0-0 draw, it feels a bit deflating that we've not gone, yes, we're here, we're going to put our stamp on it because Evans has said that we're going to do that. It just feels just a bit flat. And yeah, after 10 games or so, I do hope that it does click and that we are putting winning streaks together rather than drawing streaks or losing streaks. But as a fan on the outside at the minute, it just doesn't feel like Rotherham United. Weirdly, I don't know how to describe it because I want the team to do well and I want us to pick up results, but it doesn't feel Rotherham United. Like Evans' style of football is direct, but our direct is hoofball, and we saw that against Crew. It was very much a hoofball type of team. Like, yeah, you can play direct football and play through teams, but you have to have a set way of playing through them, whether it's counter-attack, whether it's steady build-up in midfield, whether it's playing out from the back. And we all know how we feel about playing out from the back because it sends shivers down our spines. But hoofball from the defence makes me feel like we don't have a plan of attack. We have a plan when we get into attack, but we don't know how to actually get there. So it's more of a hoofball, right? They can do that, and we'll send in the reinforcements from either out wide or through the middle or whatever. Yeah, we looked a lot more defensively solid against Bristol Rovers, other than the one counter-attack they got where they looked very dangerous and they just skied it. I think it was in the second half. At least I saw on the highlights anyway. But it's just getting into the attack. Like, yeah, Clark Harris's goals will come, Nombe's goals will come. We can see it in the players, but we don't have a way to get there. We have a way of getting the ball to them in a certain regards, but it feels so cobbled together that they don't feel calm in doing it themselves. It's like you look at Birmingham, for example, like John mentioned in the comments. Now that they've picked up their first win, they are playing really well, and they've signed, I think it's 11 players. Something like that. And they look like a team. Look at Stockport. They've picked up 2 wins. I think they've signed 14, 15 players and from the division below, and they have hit the ground running. It feels like Stockport have done what we should have done, at least in our view of how the team should be. Am I being overcritical? Probably. But, I just hope that after 10 games we're sat here going, yeah, that steady start of the season is behind us now. But maybe it's a little bit of PTSD from last season, but part of me saying, what if it doesn't happen?
I think it's pressure from last season as well. Because I said it on the instant reaction yesterday, because of the season we had last year, all of us expect and I feel like we deserve something to shout and cheer about. Yeah. And to be fair, we do. What we put up with last season, we deserve something to be positive about, and that's undoubtedly positive and undoubtedly exciting. And it's just not been that. It obviously is better, but it wasn't exciting. It wasn't particularly fun. Had we won 1-0, it wouldn't have been fun and exciting. We'd have been buzzing about the win, but it still wouldn't have been fun and exciting football. Maybe we're expecting too much. I don't know. But Fisherman Sid says, give him a break. It's only been 2 league games. It has, Sid, but if we didn't talk about it in a bit of detail, we wouldn't be doing anything. We did say last year in the Matt Taylor, remember the Stoke game last year we had to pick apart. You know what I mean? We're very critical in terms of that as well. Go on, Danny.
Just to come in on the 2 league games, again, that kind of feeds into the whole hype building thing. Like when Evans came in for the final 3 of last season, not his team. It was the team that that Taylor built and Richardson tried to tweak. But he came in, and the hype factor was back immediately.
Yeah.
and even then, we lost Drew and then absolutely battered Cardiff. And maybe that's why, in some circles of the of the fans, that's why we were expecting big things from the get-go this season, because he brought it back last season. Right, let's go in League One and let's attack it. But again, it feeds into it feeling flat. You know, it felt flat against the League Two team. All right, fair enough. There were only about 2,000 of us there, and there were 9,000 there for the Bristol Rovers game. But it just feels just flat. Looking at the results, where it's like 20 shots and 5 were on target. You know, it's like you'd expect at least one of them to go in, and sometimes nearly did. But after the bringing back of the Rotherham United feel last season for 3 games, I just wanted more this season. And it feels like it's more of a, yes, we'll go for promotion, or actually it's a transition period. It's like, well, which direction are we taking? Are we taking transition just outside the playoffs, just pipping in maybe? Or are we actually going for it? Like, which direction are we taking?
Yeah. Chris Anderson says second game, guys. Second game, 14 new players, which is really valid. Chris Anderson says we think we need to agree a forfeit for Mick if we go up. Find a humble pie. Yeah. Think of something. Sorry, I just put work on people in the comments. Think of something Mick for a forfeit for Mick. He won't do it because it's a bottle job. But it's fine. When we did the search string in Sweden, he bottled that, didn't you? So.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So
I hardly bottled it. I had no intention of ever doing it in the first place. I weren't involved in that. Not getting involved.
Okay. Joy, let's move back to the game. To go put devil's advocate here, if they had a different goalkeeper in goal, we win that 2 or 3-0. There's at least 2 really, really good saves. The one from Nnamani in the first half where he's made himself massive is a great save. I think there's one other one. There were a couple other ones which were more standard. But on another day, this could have been. You never know what happens. If you score 1, the mood changes, the play changes. It maybe builds a bit of confidence. But you've got to give credit to the Bristol Rovers goalkeeper, because he is a huge part of why it was 0-0.
Yeah, he did have a cracking game. He was the man of the match for both teams, wasn't he? The whole proceedings. I mean, and that double save, was it from a Doffin shot, and then Nnamani's seemed like a tap him, and his big hand poured it out. You know, like you say, it would have been probably a different story, because it was a very negative Bristol Rovers team. It was very much in Matt Taylor's image, I would suggest. And we would have probably gone on and maybe got 2-3 goals, but we didn't.
Yeah,
exactly. But we didn't. It's okay saying what if and maybes. Life's not like that. We didn't, and there didn't seem to be an awful lot of options or energies or outlays out there. I mean, yeah, it lifted a bit when Wilkes came on, and he for the little cameo he did, he was okay. It was fine. You can see that there's a certain amount of skill there that hopefully we can build on. And this is it, isn't it? We're only 2 games in and we're building. But while we're building, other teams, as Danny has illuminated, i.e. Stockport, etc., have also in transition, are gathering the points, are gleaning the points, and we're not. I mean, yeah, I know it's 2 games in, but we're already 5 points adrift. So it's 2 games, but we're 5 points adrift. You know, if we carry on like this, pootling about, by 10 games, we could be 10 points adrift. I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Yeah. I am not as negative as I'm sounding. I'm honestly not. But if I don't really know. I just, like you, Danny, I felt really flat watching that. It wasn't like Steve Evans' first tenure. I mean, that you knew that in those games, there were many games when we were drawing and Revel would pop up in the 92nd minute and Bob won in, but you just didn't get that this time. I'm not getting that vibe. And I'm not saying I won't after 25 games. You know, like you, Mick, I'll be sharing that humble pie with you and quite happily to do so. But just feeling flat. And I think it is to do with the hype of it from the back end of last season, the Evans hype, Evans being Evans, blowing, we're going for promotion. The guys that we sign are top-notch guys that they're going to pull us through. And on paper, yeah, they did all do really well last year. I mean, we signed a couple from Portsmouth who went up, and other guys that have come in. I mean, Powell looks really strong. And, not only is he good looking, he's very good at football. So, ticks all my boxes. So, and that's what we need to focus on, the good performances, I think, rather than the negative. And I agree. At least JCH and Nombi weren't in the same postage stamp area this game. So that's an improvement for a start. So, there are stuff to work on, and there's a lot to work on. And it was an improvement, but needs to be more of an improvement, I would say.
It does, yeah. Let's give some mitigating factors, Mick. Injuries have reared their ugly head again. Joe Rafferty played one game, got injured. I think he played most of games for Portsmouth last season. Sean Raggett played most of the games for Portsmouth last season, injured after 2 games. Hungbo as well, picked up a knock. From what Stephen had said, these are all touch and go for next Saturday. And that's 2 out of your 4 back 4. Your right back and your right centre back probably. Well, it is that. That is a blow. But then at the same time, to come back on my own point, we looked defensively pretty good, didn't we? Did we?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think I have got a little bit of a worry in that central defence with Raggett and McCart. Particularly, I've not seen enough of the other lad yet to. But there is no pace there at all in either of those two. And anybody with a bit of pace up front is going to get in behind us, particularly if, for example, Cam Humphreys picks up a knock. He's the only one realistically within that back 4 that played yesterday that's got any discernible pace.
Yeah.
So that is a worry. But yeah, injuries are what they are, aren't they? It's a subject that we've talked throughout the years on, and usually central defensive injuries as well, isn't it? And usually the manager gets the blame for it. Warney took the blame for it. Matt Taylor took the blame for it. They were the people that got the blame in previous seasons. And I don't think that was right then, and I don't think it's right now. I don't blame Steve Evans for that. It is what it is. It's just unfortunate, but we don't seem to have the rub of the green in terms of having fit centre halves, do we? So, but defensively, yeah, we were all right. But I think anybody with any pace would cause us some problems, some real problems. Their number 9 was a big lad, big strong lad, but he wasn't blessed with any pace at all, which was lucky, really. Otherwise, I think we might have had a few issues.
There was that breakaway in the first half, weren't there? Whereas if he had another half a yard of pace, we'd have been in serious spot.
Yeah,
they've been an absolute pig's ear of that. They should have done loads better with that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those. If that was the Championship last year, we lose that game 2 or 3-0 because they kill us on counter attack.
Yeah,
because they've got that quality, they've got that thing, and that's the potential issue, Danny. When you play Brum, when you play Wrexham, maybe Bolton, certainly, and a few other teams like that, teams that we want to be competing with, they would have that. They would have that extra little bit of yard of pace, that extra nous in terms of where to put the pass. So although yes, I think I agree with a lot of people. We're fine defensively. There's still quite a lot of work to do against the better teams in the league.
Yeah, I think so. I think it may play into our favour because, if we do improve over the next 8 games or so, we sort of meet like the Boltons and the Wrexhams after that window. So maybe we've found our feet and we can deal with it a bit better. But at the same time, this is another reason why it kind of worries me, because we've got Huddersfield and Birmingham coming up fairly soon.
The Charlton game will almost certainly get moved, thankfully.
Yeah, potentially the Charlton if it doesn't get moved. And if we're still finding a footing and it's more of a chugging pace rather than, right, we need to sort this quickly, Like Joy alluded to earlier, that's when we get further and further off the pace. And if our expectation is, excuse me, automatics top end at playoffs, you can't lose that much ground even at this point in the season. You have to be with the pack from the get-go, basically. And I know it's the old cliche, if it's a marathon, not a sprint, etc., etc. We could pick up form or we could not. So at this point in the season, you have to sort of go, right, we're up for it now. But yeah, I think if we don't understand the pace of Bolton and Wrexham, which I'm sure we will do because we've got the analytics for that, that will hurt us. And our approach, if it does stay long ball, will not play us round that, because we'll play long ball, but we'll be penned in, so there'll be no one for the long ball to go to. So if we're playing against a team with pace and they're in your face and pressing, which, by the way, our press is really good. Give Steve Evans credit. Our pace in the press is really good. But in terms of dealing with the pace and the breakout pace, especially down the right-hand side, is lacking at the minute. And as soon as you've got a team that go, hang on, they're a bit lacking on the right-hand side, we'll channel our efforts down our left-hand side to counteract their right-hand side. They're in behind you and Lord knows what will happen. So when we come up against the likes of Bolton and Wrexham, potentially Birmingham as well, it'll be interesting to see whether we adopt the penned-in approach or try and switch it from a long ball approach rather than potentially a high press and a counter-attack approach. How flexible will we be in those situations?
Yeah. Sam Anfield says, look, from the last time we're at this level, we're down at 14th or 15th after a few months. Yeah, that happened a couple of times under Warney, to be fair. But yeah, we'll not get into this. RUFC OK says, as much as we can all disagree over things, Powell and James, what I'm excited for this season. Yeah, let's talk about a bit more Joe Powell, Joy, because he kind of built on Tuesday's performance. The only criticism I have is that his set pieces were off it. And that wasn't always his fault. I think he put in some good areas where we didn't attack, but he did keep hitting the first man 2 or 3 times, which just hark back to last season. But he is exactly the kind of player you want at this level for me, Joe Powell. I am very excited for him.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was our man of the match yesterday, and James not too far behind him, to be honest. Thought they both had pretty decent games. Yeah. Again, it's about them all hitting the straps, isn't it? Nobody seems to be hitting the straps at the moment. It's all little bits of fits and starts. We had a good 20 minutes in that first half. I don't think the second half sort of tended to peter out. There wasn't much to talk about in that second half at all. So we just need to be able to put a full 90 minutes together. We need to be able to pass the ball to each other. We need to sort of see some, rather than just the huff ball, which, we're not the only group of people that's noticed this. It's quite obvious to everybody. We need to play it on the deck as well sometimes, rather than, like Danny says, we've got to mix it up a bit, and there doesn't seem to be that at the moment. There's no plan B. So yeah, I mean, we've got some good players here. Steve Evans has signed some good guys, but they need to get together. They need to do that work on the training ground, so they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, cliche after cliche here, Joy. So we are playing better. That we look like a team. We don't look like a team at the moment. If a few good individuals in there, some good individual performances, but not particularly a good team performance yet in any of the 3 games.
No, I agree. And there was it's only minor things, not something to get concerned about. There was a lot of arguing between players on the pitch and getting frustrated with each other.
Yes.
Anybody else noticed Clark Harris taking 2 free kicks away from Joe Powell? He was not happy. Joe Powell wasn't happy about that. It screamed Cristiano Ronaldo to me, to be honest with you. I'm taking this free kick. I'm the captain. I'm deciding who's taking free kicks. Look, they weren't terrible. They weren't as bad as Ronaldo's free kicks. But I didn't like the way Clark Harris just clearly stepped up and said, I'm the captain. So, certainly the second one. Maybe the first one I can look at. When the second one, you've not scored, let somebody else, especially somebody who is supposedly quite good at set pieces like Joe Powell, take it. But yeah, more positives. Mick, I thought Sam Nombe first league start of the season. He was on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was unlucky. On another day, he gets a hat trick, doesn't he? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
He really, really does. I thought him and Clark Harris worked fine together. I don't think Clark Harris is fit, to be honest with you. He maybe should have come off after an hour, to be honest with you. I think he's still working his way to fitness. But the energy that Nombe brings you is going to be crucial for the rest of the season because he's almost non-stop up there. He's the type of player I enjoy watching.
Yeah, he's exactly what you want, isn't he? You're absolutely right. He's like an attacking version of Ollie Rathbone almost.
Yeah,
he's into everything. But he's quicker than Ollie. Without a doubt, he's quicker than him, and he can finish. Unfortunately, like you say, yesterday he was unlucky. He came across a goalkeeper who was really on his on form. So, but like you say, on another day he could have had 3. He's going to be key. He's going to be a key player for us, I think. Is Sam Nombe this season? He has got some quality about him, and I'm maybe it's because we're stepping down a level slightly, but he seems to have. I don't know. He just seems to have stepped up since last season. So yeah, I'm impressed with him. I like him a lot. I was surprised that he got substituted, although I can understand. The thinking behind it, bringing a song on. But yeah, it deservedly got the sponsors man of the match. I thought it was excellent, really, really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of him this season. Really promising him from that in that respect.
Yeah. Matt Miller and Clark Harris says he doesn't look fit yet.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
He's always looked heavy though, hasn't he, Clark Harris? He always has. He's such a bulk of a bloke. He's just, he's whatever he is, 6 foot of pure muscle, isn't he? So I'm not convinced, but I agree. He doesn't look fit. He doesn't look fit, but I don't think that's necessarily, in my view, because of his size. I think he's carrying a knock, or he's recovering from a knock, or whatever. He doesn't. Yeah, I get that view. I get that feeling as well.
I think he's overplaying him, but at the same time, to credit Steve Evans, I'll come to you, Danny. If you're not going to play Johnson Clark Harris, you've got to play Jordan Hugill. And as much as I don't think Clark Harris was on it yesterday, he was much more effective than Jordan Hugill has been for us sometimes. So maybe Evans has kind of worked it out with Hugill, and that's why he's persisting a bit more with Clark Harris.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you've seen with Hugill that he seems to be less effective in terms of moving forwards, and Clark Harris is a lot better with his feet than Hugill is in terms of manoeuvring the ball. But no, I agree with Mike. I think he looked heavy against Crewe, but he can still get an absolute wallop of an header behind him, and it's only a matter of time until one of them finds the back of the net. And yeah, I think he's worked out with Hugill that Hugill will be probably more effective off the bench, because Hugill's game is more of a point to prove type of game, like we've seen it before when he's come on the pitch and actually performed really well. But I think Evans is just a bit unfortunate that Clark Harris was injured at the start of pre-season. I know it was only, how many games was Clark Harris missing from? He was missing until the final 2, wasn't he?
For Peterborough.
What?
Clark Harris for Peterborough, sorry.
No, for us this pre-season. He was missing until the final 2, wasn't he?
Yeah, he only played the last 2, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think if he had a full pre-season under his belt, he would look less heavy, a bit lighter on his feet. But, you play the cards that you dealt, and unfortunately, he's not probably at the upper echelon of where he can be. But then you have to play to support that, which is Nombe, who has the pace for it. Yeah. But yeah, it's only a matter of time with Clark Harris, and I really hope he finds it soon. But I don't agree with him. If he did take the ball off Powell for a couple of free kicks, I don't agree with that. Like I said, that's Ronaldo type behaviour, and Powell has got far more of a whip of a free kick on him than Clark Harris does. Clark Harris has the power, Powell has the whip, and I'd rather have the whip of the cross or the whip of the shot rather than just the raw power, because you can't shoot through a wall effectively, because it's 4 blokes. Yeah, he tried, but there's 4 blokes there,
Harry says we're interested to see we play Tuesday. We'll come to Tuesday in a little bit. Jamie McCart's come up for a bit of conversation today, Joy, on the socials. Manu was meant to be not here, basically. How would you see Jamie McCart so far? He picked up a booking, which was a booking, which was a silly booking, pretty early on in the game. But other than that, he was okay, and that nearly scored.
I mean, that's what you can say about him in all 3 games. He's been okay.
Yeah.
I suspect when everybody's fit, he's probably going to be more of the bench warmer than a starter, I would suggest. But he's okay. He's a bit meh, but
Yeah.
he's okay. And I mean, I suppose
you've
got to,
don't you?
yeah, you've got to sort of say that. Well, Evans is the first one out of how many we want? 1, 2, 3. The 4th manager he's worked under, and he's the first one that's given him any sort of decent opportunity. I mean, he's not really let us down. In fact, he nearly scored a couple of goals on Tuesday as well, didn't he? Yeah, it's like you say, he's got no pace about him, hence him having to drag that fella back and get a yellow card, which, was early doors, and it could have led to something a little bit more serious. But no, he knuckled down. He didn't do anything exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He is one of the main culprits for the long ball, though.
Yes.
His long balls are terrible as well. They are mostly aimless. They're so frustrating. But anyway, John Well on Johnson Clark Carey says, sorry to be that guy, but isn't that the problem with him? Peterborough had enough of him as he couldn't stay fit to play 90 minutes. Yeah, I think the problem is that Steve Evans will be, I don't know if loyal is the right word, but we're loyal to him and we'll keep him on for as long as possible, even if he's not 100% fit.
I think persistence is a kind of way of putting it.
Persistent with him. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that one. That sounds better, to be honest with you. Dylan Phillips, Mick. I don't know if I'm going to be overly harsh here, to be honest with you, but we'll see how this goes, this sentence. He didn't have anything to do with his hands yesterday, but his kicking yesterday and his distribution was terrible. It was, for me, I thought it was so bad. And there was a couple of occasions where a pass was put back to him, and a really soft, easy pass. He made a mess of the kick, and then gave Humphries or whoever it were a bollocking for a soft pass back. I was concerned. That is my concern with it. I don't necessarily have concern with shot stopping. I think his kicking distribution is second to what I saw from Dawson so far. Yeah.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I'm determined not to be critical of any goalkeeper this season, no matter how bad they are, because I'm always looking through Victor-coloured glasses, aren't we? He did look a little bit uncertain with the ball at his feet, which was a worry. And he did put a couple out of bounds, as Mike's just mentioned there in the comments. Which there were no need to as well. That it wasn't. Yeah. They were just clean miskicks rather than. I can never clean miskick. Anyway,
I don't think so.
Just miskicks rather than being under pressure and slicing it or whatever. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Dylan Phillips. Evans seems to think that he's the right man for the job. We have to sort of go with that for the time being. I suspect Dawson probably is the better keeper all round. Look, at some stage he'll get his chance in the first team, won't he? There's no question about that. Because that's how it happens.
Evans was not the most patient, even with goalkeepers. He chopped and changed quite a lot first time, which I don't mind personally.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm with you. I'm with you in the sense that it doesn't instill me with a huge amount of confidence. But I'll caveat that, like I said, with the fact that I'm looking through Victor-coloured glasses, so I don't know whether I'm just being biased or not.
Yeah, Mike Miller. If Phillips was a golf, how many times would he have gone out of bounds for the tee? Josh Caswell says good shots off are awful when it comes to distribution, but no one can place Victor.
That's the problem, isn't it? And it's a genuine problem for us as supporters. We've been so lucky for the past 4 years that it's anybody that follows is on hiding to nothing.
Yeah. Phil says he kicked every ball long except on one occasion. Is that the instruction he's getting from the manager? Possibly, Danny. But then that feeds into me. If that was the instruction from the manager, he'd be more comfortable with his kicking because he knows he's only got one job. Right, where's Clark Harris? Right, ping. The way he kind of acted and played was more of, I'm not really sure what I'm meant to do here. And that's a bit, based on how we played it, was a little bit shocking, a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some sort of instruction given to him in terms of where to distribute the ball to. And I know we've mentioned Victor a couple of times in the comments. I mean, to begin with, his distribution wasn't the best.
To start with.
Yeah, to start with. And it slowly progressed to the point where it wasn't his strongest attribute, but it wasn't exactly a weak one, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I think with Phillips, he's a really good shot stopper and he reads crosses really well and comes from very quickly. But if you were to give him a weak attribute, it would be his distribution. And I think if you're playing against a team where distribution of the ball is going to be a key factor, you have to go with Cam Dawson because he is very good with his feet. But they're both on the same level shot stopping wise, but Phillips is better with crosses, but then Dawson's better at distribution. And maybe that's why Evans is picking Phillips over Dawson because he's expecting more crosses to come into the box and he's wanting the ball to go long. But with Dawson, he's a lot better with his feet in terms of close control and distributing it across the back line. So maybe that's where the manager instruction comes into it. His instruction with Phillips is to, if it comes to you, get rid of it. But with Dawson, if it comes to him, he plays it out to the defenders and we can build slowly, but then it plays into the whole long ball factor with McCart, doesn't it? But I'm all right with Dawson being, with Phillips being the number one at the moment. But if, as you say, Matt, Evans is quite ruthless when it comes to goalkeepers, I think as soon as Phillips makes a howler with a corner or a howler with a clearance, he'll be swapped out straight away.
Yeah. He did this with Warrington, that's what I remember. He signed Scott Shearer in his first spell, but started with Warrington from what I remember. And then as soon as Warrington made a mistake or two, Scott Shearer came in and didn't come back out. I suspect that's what's going to happen again. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about the referee, Joy, because why not? Because we're here, Mick's here. Mike the Miller says, can't wait for a bit of ref bashing. Although, to be fair, there was quite a lot to bash about and consistently inconsistent, I thought.
Are we going to get involved by the FA as well, by the way?
I think it'll be fine this time.
Okay.
Who knows, actually. There was two. I thought it was mostly fine. It was about as good as any other ref, but except for the yellow card, the kind of trio of incidents, really. The one where Jamie McCart got a booking, and then Bristol Rovers did the same thing twice to us, and there was no booking. Really frustrating because that puts pressure on. If their defenders pick up bookings, that puts pressure on and helps us. So they are important decisions that he just got wrong.
Yeah, exactly that. He was just so inconsistent. You know, McCart dragged that guy back. He got yellow. Fair enough. But then the next two that they didn't get yellows, did they? They didn't get one until the second half. So, but then the refereeing wasn't a very good standard last year. We're a league lower, so it's hardly going to be any better. What can you say? We're not in charge of the refs. Obviously, Mr. Evans is in the dock again. We only have one game and he's in the dock. So it's going to be fun, isn't it, this year? It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Evans will spend more time in stand than he'll dugout if it continues. Mick, referee, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, if this were a Bristol Rovers podcast, I would be absolutely slating the hell out of him, quite frankly. Those three decisions, you're right, they were poor, really, really poor, very, very inconsistent. For the rest of the game, I thought he was all right. It was fine. You know, he got a few things wrong, got a few things right, but I think he favoured. It felt to me personally that he favoured us significantly more than Bristol Rovers. You know, we were getting away with a lot more than they were. And as I say, if I were a Rovers fan, I'd be hugely critical of him. So I don't think he was that bad at all.
Shirt pulling, by the way. The shirt pulling yesterday was
but that's a PGMOL directive, and we're already 2 games into season, so that's already gone by the board. Don't worry about that. Forget that. That's gone.
Some of the pulling on Johnson Clark Harris was almost
yeah. I mean, there was at one point he nearly got his shirt over his head from his back. But look, that seems to be no interest in that, do we? We never have had, so it's not something that we should get excited or out of bed about. I thought it was all right. And I'm gonna play me critic card here and now. I'm going to give myself one every podcast rather than for the whole podcast. It's curious that we've played 3 games so far. We've lost 1, won 1, drawn 1. The referee in the game that we won was woeful. He was dreadful. He blew up for everything. He wouldn't let the game flow. You know, he was rubbish. He had a terrible game. He got no flack whatsoever from our manager. However, he's obviously on a charge from the Exeter game. And then for some bizarre reason at the end of this game, he tried to do some sort of Neil Warnock performance, standing 5 yards away from the referee, staring at him and refusing to talk to him. Like, again, the petulant child came out. And I've no idea why. I've absolutely no idea why. Because he had the referee's performance, much like Exeter, had zero impact on the result of the game. And there were no hugely contentious decisions. And we've been subject to lots of hugely contentious decisions over the last few seasons, as we've talked about. But straight away is in the referee's face. Don't understand. Don't know why. I don't know whether it's just an attention-seeking thing, whether he thinks it makes him look good in front of the fans or what. I don't know. But it's got to stop because he's going to be on another one. He's going to be on another one sooner or later if we don't win a game. Because it seems to me, and it's only 2 games, but if we don't win, the referee's to blame. That would appear to be the way he's behaving. He may not think that way. However, he mentioned the referee by name in his post-match with Radio Sheffield. I'm sorry, he wasn't that bad. He was not that bad. He made a couple of mistakes. And like Mike said, yeah, he was inconsistent. However, it didn't impact the game to the point where, you know, he should be doing what he's doing. You know, the way he behaved yesterday, the Warnock incident where Warnock behaved like that, it was quite justified because it was the Cardiff game, the penalty that wasn't a penalty, that was a penalty, and it sent him down. We've just drawn 0-0 at home in the second game of the season with Bristol Rovers, and the referee missed a couple of yellow cards. That's all he did. He didn't relegate us, and yet he's behaving like that. So that's my moan card about our manager. I've played it. I'll try not to do any more. The referee, it was all right. Just a bit inconsistent, like Mike said.
Can I go in with the question of bouncing off Mick and referees?
Yeah.
So, you know how Evans has got this disciplinary from the FA, which, by the by, he's basically called the referee a cheat in the tunnel.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, they've not directly said it, but from how they worded it, you could infer that's exactly what's happened. Now that has happened, obviously, referees talk to each other, you know, whether it's at meetings or the mates with each other or whatever. Do you think in future games that may have a negative impact on us because they'll look at it and just go, oh, it's him, he already kicked off at such and such?
That particular charge, no, but Steve Evans being Steve Evans, it's the reputation's already there for me. So yeah, he and his teams will get treated differently than others, but he knows that and he plays into it. That's what the post-match interviews are all about. He plays into it. That's part of his way of motivating the fans and motivating the players. That it's the old Jose Mourinho siege mentality. The world's against you. Remember the famous line he came out with at Championship? Well, EFL don't want us in this league. Well, that's you know, that this is what Steve Evans does. You can like it or lump it. That's what Steve Evans does, and it's been mostly successful, hasn't it? Let's be right about it. It works. That kind of mentality does work.
It used to in the 70s.
It worked for him last time. It worked for Stevenage when he got Stevenage out of League Two and nearly got in playoffs in League One. If you do it properly, it can galvanise your fan base and your players together because you think everybody hates you. It can work.
We're none of us Millwall, are we? And that's the reality of the situation. You know, let's no, because I played my money in five. I've played it. I'm not using it again.
Yeah. Couple of people. Curtis Oxbridge agrees with you. Says Evans needs to spend more time sorting the problems out on the pitch instead of the ref. Josh Caswell says he disagrees with you, Mick. Felt like Bristol were the ones getting away with everything, and we were booked straight away. They had 3 chances. Martin Mill also mentions the double, what should have been a double yellow for Moore, the Rovers defender, in the 90th minute for the same foul within 2 minutes. That's correct.
Yeah. Listen, we all see it differently, don't we? So yeah.
Yeah. Joy, again, let's try and play a positive on this, but a positive with a question. We've created loads of chances over the last 2 games. We've probably created enough chances to score over the last go with Crewe and Saturday, probably 10 goals. Is that a concern that we still only scored 2 goals out of that, and obviously 0 on Saturday? Is that a concern, or are we saying it is a good thing and it's a good step that there are chances being made, or are we saying the opposition was just nowhere near for both games?
I think we've got to see it as a positive, haven't we? I can't say I'm happy with the way that our goal opportunities are being furnished or being provided. I don't think there's any sort of game plan or plan. It just seems a little bit rush, sort of bobbling about. There just doesn't seem any sort of thought and gameplay and tactics, etc., that lead to our opportunities for goal scoring. But we are getting them.
Yeah.
And you've got to say that somebody's going to get in a thrashing at some point if you carry on like that. You can't have that amount of XG and not hopefully see, well, hopefully, fingers crossed, an outcome from it. I mean, if we were, we would be well snookered if we hadn't got the opportunities that we've had. They wouldn't have, the XGs. What was it? Nearly 3 this last match, wasn't it? So, if we weren't in that position, I'd be more worried than I am. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's a positive.
Yeah.
As long as we turn it into goals in the not too distant future.
Well, yeah. If we're 10 games in and the XG is still averaging 2 a game and we're still not getting one, you win another game, the concern will deepen. Let's see what happens. Martin Miller on the performance of both sides yesterday. Which one do you think will have the better season? He says, I'm not glad Steve Evans is our manager, but I'm glad Matt Taylor isn't. Yeah, there was a lot of Rotherham United in the Bristol Rovers team yesterday, Mick. There was one particular in the second half where I can't remember if they had a throw-in or something like that, but they had a chance to put a real bit of pressure on us. And then 2 passes later, it's back to goalkeeper. What are you doing? You've got us under gosh a little bit here. They didn't try to win the game, really. And it's a good point. It's not the best point in their history, like Steve Evans said, unnecessarily. But if I'm a Bristol Rovers fan, I know they've got limitations, but I'd be frustrated in the way that they set up, because had they played a bit better, there was 3 points for them there.
I think given last season's performances and what I've heard from Bristol Rovers fans this season, I think they are frustrated, and justifiably so. We've had Matt Taylor. We know the situation. We know his game plan. He doesn't go to win away. He has no intentions of winning away. It feels the way he sets his teams up and the tactics he uses away from home. He goes to not lose, and he was successful yesterday. He was successful. But on the upside, on the opposite side to that, what I would say is at least he's got a plan.
Fair enough. That's a dig.
Can I throw down 2p on the Matt Taylor back to Rotherham thing? It's not 2p, it's actually 5p. Anyway, we say about Matt Taylor coming back to Rotherham, and I think out of the 2, he's left New York Stadium with a bit of a smug grin on his face because of all the little snide comments to the advertiser and in interviews and everything. And the emergency ward 10, that was the latest one, wasn't it? I think Matt Taylor's come to Rotherham, expected a resounding booing reception. How was the reception for him, by the way? Was it boos around the stadium or just mixed?
There was some boos, there was some clapping. It was as mixed as you probably expect.
Yeah, that's fair, but he's come here and I think he's done exactly what he set out to do, which was to get a point and go home with a smile on his face, because there was no smugness from our side of the camp, and there seems to be a resounding split of frustration, and it'll come out of it. And I think both Steve Evans a little bit in some of the comments that he made, and Paul Davis as well, for publishing them and maybe gearing up the Matt Taylor snide comments as well. They've been left with a bit of egg on the face, I think. He's come here, done a job, and gone home again without so much of a peep, really. I've not heard Matt Taylor bashing Rotherham in his post-match interviews or anything published on Bristol Rovers end. If anything, when I spoke to their lads, he's just gone about his business as if it was just a different game. He's
a professional. Now, you can disagree with his tactics, you disagree where he sets the team up, but is extremely professional.
Yeah.
He's not the Steve Evans having a go at everybody. He's not the Paul Warne talking about his dog every 2 minutes. He's just kind of, right, I'm a football manager. I'm going to talk about football. In the media, I don't care who I'm playing against. I'm just going to do my media. I guarantee you behind the scenes there have been conversations. I think that would have been a way of motivation. But yeah, he's what you expect. That's what he is what I expect. I think as a person, he's a decent person. I don't really question that. Make back on the game. I just want to mention Chris Teehee and Liam Kelly. Kind of, I think we're an hour into this, to maybe get a bit more detail in it. But I think that's one of the problems in where we're playing at the minute. I think we're playing two players that are too similar to each other in midfield. There's no kind of dynamism from either. There's much as Teehee at the post, and he did fine. Kelly and Teehee basically are trying to be the same person. I don't really get that.
Why have you come to me on this one? I've already played my criticism card. I can't believe you're asking me this question. Well, I mean, yeah, they are the two holding midfield players. So what would you do if you've played 60, 70 minutes a game and you realise that you've got two holding midfield players who are not working together particularly well? What would you do? I know. I'll take them both off and replace them with nobody that can play in that position.
Okay.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they are very similar. Chris Teehee likes to sit deep, as does Kelly. So it's difficult. It's difficult to play them both together. I think he tried to get Teehee playing just in front of Kelly, in almost in a kind of a diamond shape, but you then got a Doffin in front of him, so which left, as we know, width. And he brought Wilkes on to play in behind the two strikers. He's a winger, so he looks a little bit lost. So I don't think. I would argue you probably can't play them together. I like Chris Teehee, and I know he comes in for his criticism. I think he's a very talented footballer. I genuinely do, and I just don't think he's had a long enough run in the team to establish himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, take them both off. Just leave that blank.
Yeah. I thought Kelly, Joy, was a bright spark. There was that little run in the first half, with a little jinking run, and I think Nombe just didn't read it very well. But we've talked about this in pre-season, and I don't want to overhype, but there is a lot of the bar lasses about Liam Kelly. I don't think he's not as young. I think he's probably the difference. But the way he can dictate things and move the ball nicely and move forward well, having the ball, if he can stay fit and play most of the games, I think he will grow into the team. I think he will end up being a very, very important player.
Well, I think I agree there, Matt. The thing is keeping him fit and healthy to do 90 minutes. I mean, he can't do 90 minutes at the moment. He doesn't seem to have that in his locker. And there's not only that run, there was a couple of good through balls he put through as well for Nombe and Clark. But this is what I'm saying. Nobody seems to be on the same wavelength at the moment. in terms of playing like a team. You know, there's lots of some individually good stuff going on, but it's not gelling together. But like we keep saying, it's only 2 games, but then where do you draw the line? I don't know. I think we should be doing a little bit better by now. Perhaps I'm being a bit too critical, but no, I think Kelly will be one of the positives, assuming we can keep him fit and healthy as the season progresses, because that's what we're missing. We've got no playmaker. We've got nobody putting, you know, the different option to the hoofball. But then if we're playing hoofball, then it doesn't get the option to be the playmaker. So,
Joy, maybe you and I have reversed the aging process and we've become millennials. We want it now. We're not waiting 10 games. I want it now. Maybe that's what it is.
It's rubbing off, isn't it?
Don't tell anybody, Joy. Don't tell anybody. Keep it to yourself.
Matt Miller says, I mentioned Hugo's volley. That would have settled goal of the season. What a hit that was. So close to being just the best. This is we're not going to have time to talk about this, Joshua. I think it is important to talk about on Thursday. Probably. Josh Caswell says McWilliams was awful when he came on. He said it also goes on to mention Kelly. Incredible. He was unlucky. We need to talk about Sean McWilliams because I think he's really struggling at the minute. I think Tuesday might be an important game for him. I'm really hoping that Williams gets 90 minutes on Tuesday. Danny, I know you're a big fan of the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, so we're going to come to you on this one. Nobody coming to Mick, is there? So let's talk about the Bristol Street Motors. What are you looking forward to seeing? Because I am expecting wholesale changes. I think we'll see Cam Dawson come in. I think that's a given. And I think you'll see people like Sean McWilliams, Malik Wilkes. I expect to get some minutes as well.
Yeah,
and maybe even Clark Harris, just again get some minutes into him and to build forward. But how strong do you think Evans will go? Not how long do you want to see? Do you want it to? How strong do you think Evans will go?
It depends on what his approach to mentality is going to be. If he wants to get wins into us, to get the confidence up, and to get the shot accuracy in competitive circumstances better, then you go strong. But also mix in players who need the minutes, like Clark Harris, potentially match fitness wise, McWilliams for match sharpness. Maybe Holmes as well to get some minutes into him. Possibly Humphreys. I don't think they'd test Raggett or anything like that because it's not time yet. Dawson in goal as well. Humbo as well. Yeah, you can make wholesale changes but still go strong, which I suppose is a luxury. And it's sort of also coming at the right time because the more the team gels together in competitive circumstances, like I know it's the third world country of cup competitions for us this season, even though we're one of the stronger teams in it. But it's a chance for us to get the team moving in the right direction at a faster pace than just league games. Like Wilkes coming into it, pump some minutes into him, and we might see the better of him. And it's also a chance to, just calm heads as well. Like against Bristol Rovers, 20 shots, 5 on target, no goals. If we improve a shot accuracy in a game like this, where the edge will be off because there won't be as many fans on top of you or anything like that, and it's not the most crucial of games really, it is an opportunity for us to go strong and play well. On the flip side, it could just totally disregard it, play some of the younger professionals that have got, first year professionals, etc., because they are allowed to do that, aren't they? Even if they're out on loan at a National League team, they are allowed to come and play for us. So again, it's the fork in the road. Which direction will Evans take? I think he may go the stronger approach, and again shoehorn Holmes into it and get some minutes into him and get minutes into Wilkes, which is why it could be beneficial to us this season.
Yeah. It's Matt Miller. Won't be many fans there on Tuesday, says Danny. Will there be any? Maybe there'll be some.
Yeah.
It is available to watch on Sky Sports Plus. So if you have Sky Sports Plus and you don't want to go, it's there for you. If you want to go down, I think it's £12.50. I think the tickets. so not that cheap for a game like this. Harry's saying wants to see a songs or somebody I want to see start. Holmes, Wilkes, and McWilliams. Matt Connor saying Holmes as well. John asking why Birmingham are not playing in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. I assumed they were all at the same time. What's all this nonsense about?
Done it before where you have one section 1 week and then another section the following week.
Okay.
I don't know whether that's going to be the same this season or not. I don't know. But...
Fair enough. But it is available to watch, like I said, if you've got Sky Sports Plus. If you haven't got Sky Sports Plus, go, I suppose. I think there's a few other bits I'd probably like to talk about, but we haven't got time to do so tonight, so we're going to end it there. I want to, for a podcast, if anybody want to stay around for the podcast doffing of our caps, today is our 399th episode of New York Talk. So Thursday we'll see our 400th episode. I did some counting today, and I'm really glad I counted today rather than this time next week. So Thursday will be our 400th episode. We haven't got anything special planned for that. We should maybe do something special for the 500th episode if we're still around in a year's time. If we've not been cancelled or ran out of town or whatever the case may be. Just gone.
And so it begins.
Right, there we go. So the 309th episode has ended in the same style as all the others, just in chaos and what's the word?
Chaos.
Right. Chaos. Joy's back with us again. Thank you, Joy.
Don't know what happened there.
Yeah. Josh Caswell, can we do a no negativity episode from Mick?
Oh, Josh.
Come on, that's a bit.
Well, I mean, that's a big ask, mate. That's a big. I'll ask my wife if she's ever, if she can remember.
Yeah.
Couldn't you do a joint celebration for our 100th anniversary?
Yes,
because we're 100 next May, aren't we?
Yeah. That's a good point. But yeah, for the centenary year, we'll do something special for the 500th episode. Assuming we make it that far. Evan's appreciation episode. That's we could do that. Josh Castle full of ideas here.
Let's not.
Anyway, we're done. Thank you. Thank you
for that.
Please make sure you subscribed if you haven't already. If you haven't already checked out the instant reaction, go and have a look and let us know how stupid we were, wrong, right, whatever you think. Because we do appreciate, as much as Mick sounds grumpy, we do appreciate feedback. And we do take it on board as well. We will be back on Thursday. That will be a bit of a review of the Bristol Street Motors. That's Mansfield. We haven't mentioned the name Mansfield yet. It is Mansfield. We've got on Tuesday. And then we will preview Wycombe Wanderers on Saturday. We will try our best to get a scouting report. Don't think we ever had one from Wycombe. So I will find out who I need to speak to at their end to find out who is available. And we will hopefully get something on by the end of the week for that. Don't forget the White Rose Rivals. If you like the White Rose Rivals, that is on at 6 o'clock on Thursday. We should do the New York Talk channel if you fancy that as well, for some talking about other football clubs as well. To be fair, we are Wednesday on today. That really, really might be worth a watch. Don't forget Wednesday. But we'll see how that goes. Mick, you've been almost positive today. Almost.
Well, that's I don't know whether that's an insult or a compliment. I'm trying to.
I like your idea of a negativity card, though.
I thought you might. Yeah.
We can call you up on that. Danny, it's been fun to have you back. Thank you very much, Danny.
Yep, no worries. Always a pleasure, lads.
And Joy, as always, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you all next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers. Bye.
I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good heavens, he's done it again! Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favor, drop me off in